Alright, welcome back to the Crabby Dice. Today we're going to do a full setup and rules breakdown for Hamburgum, which is another Rondel game from designer Matt Gertz, the king of the Rondel. Alright, so I'm on a bit of a Matt Gertz kick here, so playing a lot of his games. So this is going to be the setup and rules breakdown. Click on the link below if you want to see the full playthrough. And like usual, please like, subscribe, and comment on my YouTube channel. That would be fantastic. Alright, so let's start with the setup. This one's extremely simple, like most games that came out in the 2000s. Doesn't have like 6 decks of cards to shuffle. You'll get it done in 30 seconds. So first, lay out your comically large game board. It is absolutely ridiculously large for no reason. We'll talk about that later in the playthrough, but up here in the top left, you're just gonna have your church meeples, just align one with every single slot available. And the rondel, place the player action disc in the middle. On the right over here is all the guilds. Just place them where they're supposed to be. Now, for the official ones, you can use the default game and have them ordered 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. They do give you a stack of other official tiles. This is an advanced variant. You want to shuffle these and place them there, and only the top ones available, or when you play, you select the one that you want. Advanced variant, so for the moment, I'm just going to keep it on the side. For the basic game, just align them 7 through 1 on the top there. Down below, we're going to have our ships, one of every player's color in slot 3. Here are the donation tiles. You're going to build sort of like a pyramid style shape. So you're going to have the 4 at the bottom with always the 5-point shit on top. When you make a donation, that's the one that has to be selected first. On the left here is one of every good cube on the left hand space at the 0. For the player pieces, just give everyone their pieces. You're gonna have people, ships, and discs. Give one of each good to every player, one of each building material, so wood and a stone to every player. And then you got to figure out who the first player is going to be. All right, in this example here, I'm doing red, green, yellow. So red's going to be at 1 point, green's 2, yellow 3. And then red's going to get $1, green $2. Sorry, $20, $10, $20, and yellow $30. That's pretty much it for the setup. You're just going to toss all the other components on the side of the board, and you're pretty much ready to start. All right, quick rules breakdown here for Hamburgum. So this is a rondel game, which is just a fancy way of saying action selection, but in a limited range. Okay, so if you've never played a rondel game before, the way it works is once your action disc is on the board, all right, the next action you can take is one of the 3 that is in front of you clockwise. All right, so if I'm on trade over here, I can do a dockyard, sugar, or church action as my next action. When you decide which action that is, you're going to move your action marker there. All right, you're going to perform that action. On your next turn, you can pick trade, cloth, or Guildhall. Let's say I do cloth. Oops, I'm going to go to cloth. It's that simple. All right, you're always going to look forward 3 spots, pick one of those, and go there. Now, there is a rule in this game where if you do want to go further than 3, then you're giving up points, or prestige points, these are called prestige points, to do that extra step. So if I wanted to go 5 spaces ahead, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if I really wanted to do that Guildhall action, I can go there. But then it's going to cost me 2 points. All right, so let's say I was at 10, then I'll go down to 8. All right, and that's how the rondel works. So the most points you can ever give up is 5, because if you want to do the Guildhall action again while I'm on Guildhall, well, then you're going 1, 2, 3. You're giving up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. And then you're going to do the action. All right, and that's it. So that's the action selection portion of the game. Now, the way the game flow works is just like a regular game. All right, each player is going to do their action, and then you're going to move on to the next player. So red's going to do an action. So let's say they do trade, and then we're going to go to green, who's going to do an action, and then yellow is going to do an action, and then you go back to red. All right, who's going to do an action? All right. Nothing ever happens in between players' turns. There's no phases. There's no end of round concepts. There's no beginning of turn concepts. So it runs really smooth. All right. Red does an action. Green does an action. Yellow does an action. You're just going to keep going until the end game is triggered. All right. Speaking of end game, the game will end when all the churches are built. All right. So when all these markers end up on the board, so you're going to see the church spaces here. when all of them are on there, that's going to trigger the end of the game. Click on the link below. I'll go over more of the end game scoring. All right, so now we'll just go over each of the actions on the wheel and what it actually does. All right, so the three most common actions or easiest actions are sugar, cloth, and beer, which deal with the three sort of goods in the game. All right, when taking that action, all you're going to do is produce. All right, so if I take the beer action, I'm going to produce beer. You're going to get a beer cube. All right, now, each player has a base production of one. So no matter which one you take, you're going to at least get one. But we're going to talk about it later. You can build these Guildhalls, all right, which is going to raise your production. So for example, if I build a brewery, I get +1 beer. So when I would take the beer action, I'll get 2 beer, all right? And that's that for the production actions right there. So cloth, sugar, beer work the exact same way. You just get goods from the general supply added to your personal supply. All right, we talked about producing. Let's talk about selling. So let's go to the trade action. All right, so when doing the trade action, you're either going to sell your basic goods or you're going to buy construction goods. The selling is beer, sugar, or cloth, and the buying is lumber, stone, or bells. Okay, so there's 3 things you can buy and 3 things you can sell. All right, you're going to choose one of the 2. All right, so if you sell, okay, what you're going to do is you're going to sell a type of good for each ship you have in the harbor. At the start of the game, we only have 1 ship, which means we can only sell 1 type of good. So I can either sell a beer, I can either sell a cloth, or I can sell a sugar. All right, the amount of money you're going to get is the cost on the track over here. So at the start of the game, everything's $100. All right, so if I sell 1 sugar or 1 cloth or 1 beer, I would make $100. If you would sell 2 of that type, I would make $200. If you would sell 3, you'd make $300. Okay. Now, there's a restriction on the amount you can sell based on where your ship is. All right, at the start of the game, we are on the 3 spot, which means you can sell up to 3 of that one good for that much. All right, so I can sell 3. If I had 4 of them in my supply, well, I can only sell 3. All right. If in the future I would have a boat here, all right, then I can sell 1 good 3 times and another good 1 time. So right now I can sell 3 beer for 300 and then 1 cloth for 100 as well. All right. Now you're not based, you don't always have to sell based on your ships. For anything else that you want to sell, you're going to sell it locally to the town, and it's going to be only a flat $30 you're going to make. All right, so in this random example, if I wanted to sell all of this stuff, to make the most money possible, I might do, let's say, 3 beer using this ship over here. You toss it into the general supply, make $300. I'll sell 1 sugar or 1 cloth here, which will give me another $100. And then I'll sell these 2 cubes to the town at $30 a pop. So in total, I would make $460 from the general supply. I was selling using your goods with the chart and the boats. Now buying, which is the other option, remember, always picking one of the 2. You're going to use the chart. And this is where you're going to buy lumber, bricks, and bells. All right. You can buy any combination of these 3 things using the chart. All right. So if you wanted to buy, let's say this, which is 2 lumber, 3 brick, and a bell. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 things. You're going to look at the value 6, and you're going to pay $260 to the bank. Right, you pay that amount, and then you keep these into your personal supply. Right, you can buy as much as you want, any combination that you like. Restriction is every player can have at most 1 bell. All right. At the start of the game, if you want, you can just put in the general supply the amount of bells equal to the amount of players, so you don't accidentally buy more. Maybe a little suggestion. But that's it. You look at the chart. Let's say I want to buy 5 things. It's going to cost me $200. You pay $200. You'll take these 5 things, put in your personal supply. All right, next let's do Dockyard. Let's just go in order. So Dockyard deals with these ships. Let me take this back off. You can build ships at 1 lumber per ship. You can build as many ships as you like. All right, so let's say I want to build 2 ships. Well, then I'll pay 2 lumber. Then you'll take 2 ships and you'll put them on the board. So ship placement is kind of a unique mechanism over here. Each spot or number can only have as many ships as there are number of players. It's sort of the capacity of that region. All right, so at the start of the game, this one is already at capacity, number 3, because we're playing a 3-player game and there's 3 ships there. So any new ship that would enter this sort of port would push everything else to the left. Right, so anything to the 1 would get removed from the game or back to their personal supply. Anything in 2 will go to 1, and anything in 3 will go to 2, and then you would add your ships into 3. All right, and as you go, people are buying more ships. This is just a random example. Let's say green bought 2 ships. Well, then he's going to add 1 ship. This one hits capacity. This is going to go down. This is going to go down. And we're going to go like this. I'm just going to continue the same example. Let's say yellow built 2. Well, now there's enough space here. They would enter 2. All right, but then let's just say red later on in the game builds a ship. Well, then this gets returned back to the player supply. This pushes down, and this stays over here. All right, up next, let's talk about the church action, which is making donations to the churches on the board to get your presence out there, and also to gain these point scoring chits, which are extremely valuable. You'll score a lot of points with these throughout the game. And also, the second part of that action is scoring the chits. All right, it's sort of a 2-parter when doing that action, but I'll get back to the scoring part later on in the video. So when doing that action, let's say red wants to do it. First thing you're going to do is you're going to pick 1 church and make as many donations as you want to that 1 church. You can't pick multiple churches, and it has to be a church that's not completed and that can accept those donations, obviously. So, for example, you cannot pick to donate to Mariandon because it's already completed. All right, but you can choose to do 3 donations to Saint Nicola because it can still take 3. You can tell by how many tokens are on the board. But let's say Saint Nicola already had 4 donations to it. Well, now you can only make 1 single donation to Saint Nicola because there's only 1 token left. Right, you can't over donate. All right, but when you pick the church you want to donate to, the payment is going to be according to the chart of how many donations already have been paid. So it is red's turn. Let's say they want to do 2 donations to Saint Nicola. When looking at the chart, the first 2 have already been paid from green. They already had 2 donations out there. So red's going to have to pay slots 3 and 4. Looking down, they're going to pay 60 in total, 2 brick, 2 lumber. Let's say they had that much. They're going to pay to the general supply. They put their 2 presence tokens out there. And now they're going to grab 2 available scoring tokens. So let's say they take these 2 for whatever reason and put them in front of them to be scored later. All right, and that's how the payment and presence works. All right, so let's say green came along and they wanted to do a donation to St. Michael's. Let's say they wanted to do the first 2 donations to St. Michael's. Looking at the chart, they're only going to have to pay 2 brick and timber because it's the first 2. No presents, no donations have been done to St. Michael's yet. Then when they have to grab 2 tiles, the first one has to be the 5-point tile. And then after that, they can choose whichever one they want. And again, puts this in front of them. All right. When doing this, very important. The first person to put the 5th donation on top of a church finishes that church. All right. So by taking the last token, so let's say yellow came along, did that action, and they wanted to do the 5th donation to Saint Nicola, they're going to pay the 5th slot over here, which includes the bell. They're going to grab the last available point scoring chit. And now they finished the church, which means they're going to replace it with a church meeple. They're going to put their disc on the point scoring marker over here. They're going to score that many points, so 7 points. And everyone gets their tokens returned to them. All right, so those are completing churches. And remember, end game trigger is all the churches are completed, which means all these tokens have gone away. All right, the second part, all right, of that action is scoring these chits that you have in front of you. Right, you can score as many of these chits as you have. So if you had 5 of these in front of you, 6 of these in front of you, you can turn them all over and score as many as you like. All right, so if you're in a very good situation, you want to score all your building ones, you're going to flip them all over, score all those points, gain those points around the point scoring track. And you track them by flipping them over. When they're flipped over, it means you already scored them, and then you leave them in front of you. All right, but you're not forced to score them all. Right, you can carry these over into future church actions. All right, but with a restriction of only 1 per type. So if I had these in front of me for whatever reason, well, then I would be forced to score 1 of these 2 because I can only carry 1 of each type. So this one's fine, this one's fine. All right, but I would only be able to carry 1 of these 2. Let's say I want to carry this one. That means I have to score this one, score how many points I would get, score it on the track, and then it will go on to the next player's turn. All right, last up is the Guildhall action up here on the top right, and that deals with building these buildings, which will get you markers out on the board and also give you the benefits of the building. All right, now there is a massive restriction on where you can build buildings. You always have to build adjacent or connected to in a line. You're not really adjacent, but there's all these lines connected on the board, but you have to be connected to something you already have on the board. Which means at the start of the game, you cannot even build one of these buildings. You need to make a donation first to any church to have your presence out there. So for whatever reason, let me go to St. Michael's. Let's say I did a donation to St. Michael's, and then I would get a St. Michael's token. But inherently, I would now start my connection out on the board. All right, in the future, I could make a different donation, start somewhere else, but this is just my first donation. All right, now from here, I can actually do the Guildhall action because now I can build the official building, the cloth maker, another official here, a brewer, or a captain, or even a sugar refinery over here. Just look at the lines connected to what you already have on the board. All right, and each of these types are indicated out here on the right-hand side. All right, we'll go over the buildings in a couple seconds. All right. On your turn, you can even build as many buildings as you like. You're not restricted to building only 1. Each building is going to cost you 1 wood and 1 brick. All right, so as much as you can pay, you can build. So let's say I would pay 2 brick and 2 wood. All right, pay to the general supply, and then I can build 2 buildings. In this example, let's say I wanted to build a sugar refinery and then a merchant. All right, I could do this, even though there's no merchant directly connected. It's because I'm going to build this one first. And you indicate your buildings by placing one of your little meeple guys out onto the board. You can either put a man side or a woman side up. It doesn't really matter, just for aesthetic purposes only. So this is going to be my sugar one that I just built. Once you build it, you put these in front of you just to track that you have it and the ongoing ability it's going to give you. And then I have a merchant here. So I'm going to take a lady and put on the merchant spot over here. All right, if you build 4 buildings, you can even snake it as far as you want. There you go. Let's go over each of the different buildings. They're really simple. We'll just go over them one by one. So the merchant, there's only 3 of them. You're just going to get $100 from the bank. And benefit. The captain, you're going to see these orange ones. Well, this allows you to build a ship. Come on, folks. So you get 1 new ship. You'll take your ship. Without paying the lumber, you'll put it straight into number 3. All right, but these are called Flying Dutchmen, I believe. You also need to put this on 3 with you. It sort of pushes things down. All right, so in a random example where there were already 2, let's just say yellow was also there. So let's say there were 2, and let's say green would have built this one. Well, he's going to get the orange one and the green one. And then he's obviously going to pick the orange one to go first. So then everything's going to push down. Then he put his 3 in slot 3. Right, so that's how that works. The brewer, the sugar, and the cloth maker work the exact same way. They're just when you produce, you get +1 of that type. So when you do the beer action, if you have this, you'll get 2 beer from the general supply instead of 1. Now, every time one of these gets built, All right, that type, as you can see the track over here, goes to the right. All right, you're producing more, so that cost of that good goes down. So if I were to build the brewer, beer value goes down now to 90. All right, if somebody else would buy a brewer or build a brewer, it would go down, then down, down, down. Then there's 5 tiles. You'll get to the end where it's $50. Lastly are the official tiles. And these ones will give you the benefit indicated at the bottom when you buy it. All right, so there's 3 councilmen. You'll make $10 per total citizen on the board. When you buy it, one-time benefit. The Vicar will give you $10 per total donation. So you'll look at the donations, count how many there are, times it by 10. And then finally, this one, which is the Lord, which you'll get $60 per completed church. And you always start from the top, and as people buy, well, then you'll eventually get to the bottom of the stack. Those are the base official buildings or guilds. Now remember, there are the special ones. This is the advanced variant. So you're going to replace that deck with this deck. If you're playing with variant 1, well, you can pick the one that you want and then get the effect. They're all gaining money or doing something special. Look in the rule book. They all have special rules. Or you can play variant 2 where you shuffle it and then it's a static deck you'll have there, and you can only buy the one that's currently on top of the stack. All right, those are pretty much all the rules. Let's go straight into endgame. There's just a couple of things. So like I mentioned already multiple times in this video, the game's going to end when all the churches have been built. All right, you're going to go straight into endgame scoring. All right, nobody's going to take another turn. All right, so what are you going to score? Points you've already accumulated during the game. All right. Any tokens that you haven't yet flipped over, these donation tokens, they now have to get triggered. You're going to flip over every single one you have and score them accordingly. So at the end of the game, if I hadn't flipped this over, I'd flip it now, and then I would score 6 points because that's the points I would get from this tile. All right. And then finally, you're going to take all the material and goods you have in your personal supply. You're going to trade it in for $50 a pop for every single thing. And then you're going to score an extra point for every $100 left in your possession. Right? Essentially, you're making 1 point for every 2 materials that you still have. Okay? And there you go. Whoever has the most points at the end of that is going to win the game of Hamburgum. All right, so those are the rules. Click on the link below if you want to see the playthrough, and we'll see you in the next one. Later.